What I'll be doing now with this video is taking you through the different documentation or manuals that will help you work through problems with EWIS. This video is a deeper dive into the troubleshooting procedures mentioned in the General Practices Phase 1 training. So we will be looking at 3 manuals in this video. We'll start off with the FIM, the Fault Isolation Manual, then the AMM, and finally the Wiring Manual. So please pause the video now and open up your Bombardier Navigator so you can physically click through the steps as we work through them in the video. You can always pause the video to catch up if the pace is moving too quickly. So let's start, first of all, with a problem that might be EWIS related. Let's do something in the fire protection panel. So let's say you notice in the fire protection panel that the fire bottle aft arm advisory light incorrectly doesn't come on for whatever reason. So if you notice that in the fire protection panel the light doesn't come on when it's supposed to, the first place that we could go is the FIM. So let's look at the Fault Isolation Manual, and you can look directly in the ATA chapters. For example, chapter 26 is your fire protection, so assumably it's going to be in there. Or you could go to the fault tables, which is down here at the bottom, and when I open up fault tables, I'm going to look at the observed fault list. The observed are things that I see. Like, for example, if I'm looking at the fire protection panel, I'm going to scroll down and it's all alphabetically organized, so I'm scrolling through the A's, and now I'm going to get to the fire protection panel. A little bit further down, here we are. Okay, so it starts up here, fire protection panel. And again, our problem is the aft fire bottle arm light doesn't come on. So let's look here. We have the fire protection panel, an indication discrepancy of the arm light in the fire bottle aft area. Over here on the side, it's going to give us the FIM, or fault isolation task, that we can go to look up how to start our troubleshooting process. So let's look at chapter 26-22-00. So I'm going to go over here again, like we assumed, to the fire protection chapter 26-22-00. And then we have to go to 810-803. So we'll just scroll down here, 801, 802, and here we are, 803. So I'll click on that, and I'm going to just double check that this is my problem. Again, the fire protection panel, an indication discrepancy of the arm light in the fire bottle aft area. Okay, it looks like we're on the right track. So now let's look at some general information about our fault. This fault isolation procedure is for when the fire bottle aft arm advisory light in the fire protection panel incorrectly does not come on. Now, what would cause the light to come on? Let's look at B. The fire protection panel fire bottle aft arm advisory light comes on in the conditions that follow. The baggage aft test detection toggle switch is set to the 1 or 2 position, or the baggage aft smoke detector number 1 or number 2 has sensed smoke. So it can either be we're testing the circuit, or it actually in real life has sensed smoke. Or maybe the bridge wire 1 or 2 continuity in the aft high rate discharge fire extinguisher cartridge is good, and the bridge wire 1 or 2 continuity in the aft low rate discharge fire extinguisher cartridge is good. So those are all the conditions that would make that arm advisory light come on. We have to have either a test situation or real live smoke, and we have to have continuity to the squib in order for that light to come on. So then we'll look down here at our job setup. Now you'll notice that we're going to be doing some troubleshooting, so we have to reference other places in our navigation, in our Bombardier Navigator suite. So we've got to go back to the AMM, and in some cases the FIM, and in some cases even the wiring manual. So this reference section will give you all the possible tasks that you're going to have to do. Next, you'll look at fault confirmation. We do need to confirm, yes, this indeed is the fault. So this procedure will walk you through how to confirm your fault is what it is. And then we'll move down here to our fault isolation. The fault isolation process is going to take us through the steps that will most likely address the problems. The most likely problems are going to be addressed first. For example, probably the issue is with the squib. That's where the majority of operators have found their problems. And so if we take away the squib and replace it, then it might fix the problem. If that doesn't replace the problem, then we are going to have to exchange other components. Then we'll move to the aft low rate discharge fire extinguisher cartridge. So we'll start with the high rate discharge squib, then we'll move to the low rate. And then we'll move to the fire protection panel, we'll exchange that. The advisory control unit if it still doesn't work, and finally the control amplifier. After all these LRUs are replaced, then we're going to dig into the wires themselves. So starting at step 6, we'll look at the different wires that could possibly be the problem. So this works us in a logical order. We'll just jump real quick to the AMM to take a look at this first problem. Since this is EWIS related, the squib, we'll take a look at what the AMM has to say about this process. So I'm going to jump here to the AMM. Now, if I go back here, it gives me a reference. So I'm just going to highlight this reference here. I'll copy and then I'll paste it here in my search area. And I want to look at chapter 262206. So I'm going to go again to the fire protection chapter. (262206). That's our high rate discharge fire extinguisher. And here we have our cartridge or our squib. And this will tell me how to remove, and then the following task, how to install the squib. So I'm going to click on removal just so we can look at it. And we'll work here from the top. The general says this maintenance procedure that follows is for the removal of the high rate fire extinguisher cartridge. The cartridge is installed on the aft high rate fire bottle in the aft fuselage. Then it gives us different references. It tells us we need to de-energize the electrical system, that we need electrical and electronic safety precautions, and we also have electrostatic discharge safety precautions. So these are things that we've discussed previously in our other learning phase to make sure that we set up our job properly. We have to obey these safety precautions or something dangerous could happen. So we'll move down here and it gives us the procedure. Again, there are plenty of different warnings. Please make sure that you read and heed all these warnings. This procedure will tell you how to remove the squib, and then the following procedure over here will tell you how to replace the squib. So we're not going to go through each of those steps, but you can definitely pause the video and check it out. Now we're going to go back to our fault isolation procedure. So now we're back in the FIM. Let's say we've done all these steps. We've replaced every single LRU that it says to. Now what we have to do is dig into the wires. So we're going to have to go to another manual. We're going to be referred here to the wiring manual. And it gives us our first set of wires to look at. It says here, the fault still continues. Check the wiring between the circuit breaker cargo indication, or K3, and the fire protection panel. So here, let's look at this table. It says we're going to look at the left essential, cargo indication, and this is going to be circuit breaker K3. Then we're going to go here to our fire protection panel and we're going to look for wire 42. Okay, so I'm going to remember those two things, K3 and wire number 42. We're going to look here now in our wiring manual. And remember, it was chapter 26. We're going to go down here to the baggage compartment fire extinguishing 2622, and then we'll go to the wiring manual drawing. Now I'm going to zoom in because it's a little bit hard to see. and here we go. If you look right here, here is K3. This is our cargo lights. It's our left essential bus. And we've got this wire coming from the circuit breaker K3. And it moves here through the bulkhead and over here into the relay rack. And now we've got our wire. Again, we're chasing it over to number 42. So if I look through here, I'm going to keep working through all these different components. Now here we're at 42, and this is indeed the fire protection panel. So what I have to do is chase this wire, and I have to double check that everything is in good shape, there's nothing broken, that there's no corrosion, whatever it may be that could be causing this indication in the fire protection panel to go wrong. So if there's nothing here, let's say all these wires check out, I've used my multimeter, I've checked everything out, everything's got continuity, then I can go back and I can go to my next section, which tells me to take it from the squib, the high rate discharge squib, wires 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're going to go and follow those through the control amplifier 10, 11, 17, 18. So let's look back again at that same diagram. Now I'm going to go to a different component. I'm going to go to my high rate squib. Here again, remember 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to chase these wires now across to the control amplifier 10, 11, 17, and 18. And you can just chase these wires through. You're going to have to go through the pressure bulkhead and a few other places to get through to the control amplifier. And again, you'll just continue on with the same fault isolation procedures until you've run out of procedures, and then for whatever reason the aircraft is cursed and we'll just have to give it back to Bombardier. Okay, so hopefully this helped you understand a little bit more about the troubleshooting procedures and how to use the manuals and the documentation. If you've got any further questions, please feel free to email me at eritchie@islandair.com, and I'll be happy to help walk you through any questions that you have.